including the Week 16 matchup at Philadelphia. So as bad as things have gone in not beating a team with a winning record this season, they still believe that it can be a team that does some damage. Now, they actually have to beat a team with a winning record, and that could start this week against Buffalo. But Jason Garrett, he doesn't get caught up in all this stuff around Jerry Jones. He knows that's kind of what comes with the dinner of being this team's coach. So he's really trying to maintain a patient face in front of this to help his team deal with this as well. And in the past, they've responded. We'll see if they can respond again, because if he doesn't, then we know Jerry Jones will be looking for a new head coach.
The best way that he can help his team is to fix some of their issues. What would you say is their most glaring issue on that team?
Well, you look at Amari Cooper coming off a game without a catch for the first time as a Cowboy. That has to be at the top of the list. But the good news for Amari Cooper and the Cowboys is this game is at AT&T Stadium. If you look at his 6 road games, he has 17 catches, 213 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In the 5 home games, it's 39 catches, and he has 100-yard receiving in each of his last 3 games. Yes, Buffalo has a good pass defense. Tre'Davious White is second and tied for second in the NFL in interceptions. But Amari Cooper, no matter who he's played against at home, has always succeeded. And last year on Thanksgiving, 180 yards against Washington, including a 90-yard touchdown. The Cowboys will need some of that. Jason Garrett will need some of that as well.
Seems like the holidays coming at a good time because they're pretty good on Thanksgiving Day games. Todd Archer joining us from Dallas with the latest on what's been, well, a pretty interesting last few days there. Right, Greeny?
To say the least. And Swagoo is here, our resident former Cowboy, as you pointed out. We'll get to you in a second. I did just want to quickly address the very first thing Al said, which is the league comes out and says the 2 tripping calls should not have been made. And it's a tripping is a penalty that you see so seldom in the NFL. You can live, I almost feel like you can live with a bad interference call, a bad this or that, but to just make up 2 tripping calls, particularly one in the biggest spot of the game, frankly, is inexcusable.
And everyone was able to see that it wasn't tripping. Like anyone, casual fan or diehard fan that has been around the game of football realized this wasn't tripping. And God, NFL, guess what? Like, your apology means nothing. It doesn't take the loss away from this team's win or loss record. Don't apologize anymore. Get the calls right.
This was the most watched thing on television since the Oscars and the most watched sporting event on television since last year's Super Bowl. And for some reason, the officials decided to insert themselves into that at that moment. Let's put that aside, because that isn't the biggest reason the Cowboys lost. Swagoo, let's deal with those if we can. Unless, where do you look like you're ready to go. I'm just watching you go. Go ahead, big fella. Where are you taking me?
It's coaching, all right? And look, I'm going to tell you this, G. When they tell you the wind is blowing hard, move your return man up. When you have an opportunity against the Patriots in the red area, go ahead and try to score a touchdown, because you ain't did it all game. So what makes you think you're going to be able to kick a field goal and go back and do it again? And then, too, when you think about what this team has done, and I continue to say this, and I'm going to keep beating this dead horse, they've done everything to put themselves in a position to win. Period. Like, there is nothing else to point to but Jason Garrett in this situation. They've changed coaching staffs. They've changed offensive coordinators. They brought in Chris Richard. They've signed players. They committed to Zeke. They brought this O-line together. Everybody's back healthy. What is the one thing that's left that hasn't changed about the Dallas Cowboys? Jason Garrett. And you know what keeps happening? This is the definition of insanity. They keep doing it. Jerry keeps making those excuses. And I think for the first time yesterday, we saw Jerry draw a line in the sand and say, okay, I know that this is not good enough anymore. And one thing I know about Jerry Jones, playing in our organization for 8 years, when those Dallas Cowboy fans start talking loud, he listens because he respects them. And it's a lot of people around him that know a lot about football, and they understand what's going on right now.
When was the last time you heard a general manager talk about their head coach this way? When was the last time you heard, just listen to Jerry Jones? What is he saying about Jason Garrett right now? 2 times in the last 3 weeks, he has singled Jason Garrett out as we lost because of him. We lost because I have him and the other team has that guy. Look at the playoffs, guys. Look at New Orleans with Sean Payton, Bill Belichick with Kraft and Baltimore with Harbaugh, Pete Carroll in Seattle. Listen to the way those general managers talk about their head coaches. When was the last time Jerry Jones pointed to Jason Garrett and said, we won because of you? The conversation's over then. We won because of you. It hasn't happened.
Final word.
What's so disappointing, living in Dallas and being around those guys, they got some hell of a football players on that team, man. I'm talking about some legit go-getters, better than I ever was in the NFL. And it's enough of them to win a Super Bowl. their coaches costing them.
That's what it's coming down to. Either the players aren't as good as we think they are, and you're telling me that they are, then there's really only one other place to look. We have more on that as we go. But it is, of course, rivalry week in college football, and one of the biggest rivalries there is Alabama-Auburn. The Crimson Tide need a win to stay in the playoff mix. And Swagoo, I want you to listen closely to what Nick Saban had to say about his game coming up this Saturday, the Iron Bowl against Auburn.
This is, the best team we've played probably so far this year, and it'll be the most challenging place that we've played. So, real challenge for our players and our team.
So, Swagoo, our resident LSU friend, is Auburn the best team they've played this year?
It's not there.
Hey,
I've got the sheet.
You want the sheet? How about the sheet? Give the sheet. You need the sheet.
Yeah, they're LSU #1.
You have to look that up.
Hey, Swagoo, what's the SOR, strength of record, for LSU? Strength of record number one?
That would be number one.
What's Auburn's SOR, strength of record?
Let me get there, Diz. Let me get there. Hold on. Give me time now. Let me process
14,
this. 14. Game control for LSU.
Okay,
number 2. Auburn is 10. This ain't a knock against Auburn.
No,
they
not at
lost
all.
3 games. But you know what else?
So what is Nick Saban saying, Paul Feinbaum? Why is he saying?
First of all, Nick Saban is 100% correct.
You need the sheet?
Nick Saban is right.
No, of course, I am contractually obligated to agree with everything Nick Saban says.
Why is he saying it?
He is saying it because he's Nick Saban, and he wanted just to throw something up in the air and get people talking. But he's really talking to the committee. He doesn't care about us.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he cares about Marcus. But he's trying to, to get them to think. He wants them to do some comparison shopping between Alabama and Utah, because the conventional wisdom right now is if Utah wins out and wins the Pac-12 championship game, they are going to jump Alabama.
Well, he probably wants to just forget about that game. And where are we now in college football that the greatest college football coach of all time is now into politics? He has to sit there and politic for his team. Hey, the team that we're about to beat Saturday is the best team we've seen all season, just to try to jockey for one of the top 4 spots.
When he was in the same position, he came and sat next to you on game day and spent 2 hours campaigning, and you guys let him.
But he didn't politic like this, where he just blatantly said, hey, this team is the best team we've seen.
Well,
Forget about the team we saw in Tuscaloosa.
He had a better argument then.
Forget about the team we saw. Exactly. That's the point.
Let me make this the question for the moment here. We all understand what he's doing. He's speaking to the football coaches on the committee, not the administrators,
guys.
not the geeks like me who are looking at the sheet. He's talking to the coaches who are going to look on the field.
Frank Beamer does not know how to read this.
He's going to say, the coaches are going to say they're better than Utah.
Absolutely.
I will just ask the question directly. Swagoo, I'll start with you. If Georgia does not beat LSU, if LSU beats Georgia and Georgia falls out of the conversation, does Alabama deserve to be the 4th team in the playoff?
Yes. With an asterisk.
What's the asterisk?
It's the first time we ever going to see Mac Jones play a good team.
Well, obviously they have to beat Auburn and be so convincing.
But that's the thing, G. Like, I understand what people are saying. And Mac Jones, Mac Jones has beat Arkansas and Western Carolina.
Yeah.
And he put up numbers against them. They about to play, now arguably, Auburn is the best defense in the SEC outside of Georgia.
Let me explain to the audience out there. Auburn is a very good team. They've lost to the #1 team, the #4 team, and the '9 team. 2 of those were on the road.
And they beat Oregon.
So
they're very good.
So that means they're not the best. But
They were good. And don't forget, Paul, they were outplayed by Oregon.
I'm sitting out there in Grapevine tonight. I'm arguing whether Alabama should be #4 over Georgia, because Georgia barely beat A&M at home. Alabama smacked them on the road. Alabama destroyed South Carolina on the road. Georgia lost to South Carolina. I think that's a good debate.
But if Georgia beats LSU, Georgia's in. There's no debate, right? They will have beaten LSU. But if they don't, if Alabama plays well this Saturday and beats Auburn convincingly, do you believe when all is said and done, Alabama gets in?
The only way Alabama gets in is if Georgia loses. That's it. Outside of that, Alabama stays.
No, I got that. But if Georgia loses, is Alabama the one that jumps in?
Without a shadow of a doubt. You're one of the top 4 teams. No doubt about it.
I'm not sure if Bama going to get in over Utah if Utah win the Pac-12.
Well, there's Utah. There's the possibility of Oklahoma. There's a lot here you have to figure out.
I think Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain.
Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Coming up here on Get Up, Lamar Jackson's dominant performance. What does it say about the state of the Rams? We'll tell you why they may get way, way worse before they get any better. And then, how much has Carson Wentz regressed And who's to blame for his and the Eagles' failures? We'll hand that out next. Don't miss it.